Good morning. Well, good afternoon. I am going to make some cabbage, fried cabbage in the skillet. It's really, really good. I've made this recipe before, but I thought I would come on here and show you guys how to make it if you don't know how. So you start with the head of cabbage, and then take off all the outer layers and then wash it, and then I'm going to show you how I cut it up. I'm going to use a vidalia onion in there, green pepper, and I'm going to put it all in the skillet, and you're going to see it's going to be really, really delicious. While I am cutting up the cabbage, I am going to cook about 4 little slices of bacon just to create some flavor for oil, and also to add a little bit of flavor to the cabbage. Okay, now that I've washed it, I'm just going to cut it. I'm going to show you how I'm going to cut it, because I'm going to almost make it like shreds. Cut it, and cabbage can be a little difficult to cut. You have to take it a little bit at a time because it's extremely thick. It's not thin like lettuce. So my bacon is cooking, as you can hear it in the background. So that's going to create the grease from the bacon. I'm going to leave in the skillet. Make sure you cut that little piece right there out of it. Be careful not to cut your finger. You don't want that little part, the little core part. You want to cut that out. So cut that out. That's kind of what it looks like. So now what I'm going to do, hopefully you can see, is I am just going to cut it into like slithers. So this is just a different method of cooking cabbage as opposed to putting it in a pot with water. It doesn't have as much flavor that way. This way you have a ton of flavor in there. So see how the pieces look? That's how it's going to look, kind of shredded up like that. So I will get something to put it in, gather all my cabbage as I cut it. So I'll come back after I get all the cabbage cut. In the meantime, I'm also cutting my onion. And I like to use vidalia onions for everything because they're sweet, they're not too strong. So I'm going to thinly cut some onion to go in there because that adds a little bit more flavor to it as well. So I don't use a ton of onion. And what I'm going to do, so they're in slices, but I'm actually going to even cut it in half one more time. Basically what I wanted to do is almost cook and disappear into the cabbage. So you don't even really see the onion. Then I'm going to cut half of a green pepper in there as well for flavor. Don't need a whole one. So just half a green pepper. And give it a little bit of color and a little bit of flavor. Everything I'm cutting very thin. Hopefully you can see. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to get out of the camera. Let's see. See that? Just cutting that very thin. And I'm not even going to cut the whole green pepper because you don't want that to take over the taste of it. And I'm going to cut that in half one more time. See that, how the pieces look? Put all that in there. Because when I get ready to put it in the skillet, I'm just going to all go in there together at the same time. I am not going to lie to you. This cabbage was really hard to cut. It was really thick. Also, try to get the biggest head of cabbage I hope I didn't call it lettuce. Oh, try to get the biggest head of cabbage that you can find in the store, because just like greens, it cooks down. So it'll look like you have a ton, and then once it cooks down, you'll realize like, man, I didn't have as much as I thought I did. But a head of cabbage can probably feed a good 4 people with that. So I'm just right now just slicing up my cabbage. I've already cut my green peppers and my onion. I added a little bit of olive oil to the skillet because the grease from the bacon won't be enough to cook all this cabbage. I didn't add a lot because you don't want it to be real greasy. And this is actually a really fast meal to cook. It doesn't take a real long time. The prep time is not real long, and the cook time is not real long either. I would say maybe 20 minutes or so. So, almost done with the cabbage. And I'm going to show you. It's going to look like a ton of cabbage. But once it cooks down, you're going to be like, wow, what happened? Looked like she had a lot of cabbage, and she really don't. So, got my cabbage cut. And let me show you. So, got my olive oil in there. I did let the bacon cook like completely because it's going to cook more with the cabbage in there. So now I'm going to go ahead and add my cabbage to the skillet. You hear it sizzling? So it's ready. Hold on. I'm going to go ahead and get the cabbage in there. Okay, so as you can see, I used the biggest skillet I could find. And it's pretty full. It's looking pretty full right now. But as you know, that's all going to cook down. So as you can see, all of the oil is at the bottom of the skillet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually pour some olive oil on top so that as I mix it around, it's not dry. I'm going to put some Lawry's, of course. Not a ton. We're not going to make it real salty. And some garlic salt in there. And then I'm going to put the top on it, and I'm going to let this cook down for about 10 minutes and then let you see what it looks like as it starts to cook down. It's coming along real nicely. You can hear it sizzling. I am going to add a little bit of minced garlic and spread that around just for a little bit more flavor. I'll stir that around. So I'm just taking some tongs and just kind of tossing them. So that way, I'm just flipping them, I mean. Because that way I bring what's on the bottom that's already cooked to the top. And then make sure to get the ones that are on the top closer to the heat. So you see that one cabbage, it looks like a lot in there, you know. But it will cook down, I promise you. You'll be surprised how much it will cook down. So you just leave your top on it. Don't bother it too much. And every now and then just check on it and kind of toss it a little bit. Look at that. It's looking delicious. You see how it's starting to soften, and you can tell it's getting closer to being done when it's not so crunchy looking. So I was wrong. I said 10 minutes, probably more like 15 on medium to high heat. So I'm going to share with you something that I did. The bacon just didn't seem to be cooking down. It was still too raw. So I threw it in the microwave for a few seconds and just made sure it was fully cooked. Because one thing you don't want to be doing is eating raw bacon. So that's what I did. So to make sure the pieces were completely cooked, I did that, and I actually went ahead and poured the bacon grease into the cabbage because it's not going to hurt it. And about 5 more minutes and it should be done. I'm going to put the top back on it, and when I come back, it should be time to eat. All right, it's completely done. I would say make you some cornbread or whatever you like to eat on the side. And actually, if you're like me and you really like vegetables, you know, this could be a meal all by itself. we go. Some fried cabbage, vidalia onions, and green peppers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it off and just leave it on the eye so that and put a top on it so it can just kind of continue to cook down a little bit. But look at that. That looks delicious. And it's time for lunch.